Hi, I'm Kesenya. I'm your Astro Weather Girl, here with this week's Astro Weather Report at Guiding Star Astrology. So lovely to have you with me. I'm going to show you how the heavens, how the stars are going to affect your life this week. A big welcome to all my new subscribers and new friends here. If you are new and you're new to astrology and you want to learn how to read your own chart, then do go to the link in the description box below. Find out how you can learn to read your own chart through doing my course. It's an hour-and-a-half course, very quick, very easy. It's only $30 and just pop to the link below and you will learn how to read your own chart using free online software. Big hugs and kisses to my subscriber base who've been with me for years now. It is so lovely to have you with me each week, as always, exploring the heavens together. And a kiss, mwah, to my glorious patron Guiding Star family, the members who join me for moon reports, the new moon report, the full moon report, and special astrology reports throughout the month. It is so glorious to have you with me here today at my Guiding Star channel as well. If you do want to be a Guiding Star family member, it's only the price of a coffee every month just to get those extra updates and extra knowledge. And also we cover a lot of rituals, a lot of ceremonies that we can do under the influence of the new moon and the full moon, where they fall, and how we can use that energy to our best advantage to create the life that we want to live. So if you're interested in that, check out the link below as well to my Patreon family page and become a member. We'd love to see you there. Now, something that's very exciting that's happening in the sky at the moment this week is that we're suddenly getting a lot more morning stars. And this is because the sun has been moving further and further away from this collection of planets here in Aquarius. And as it does so, the planets become visible in the mornings. Now, let me show you how this works through the Astro Weather Wheel. This little arrow in all my astrology reads online here represents the horizon and the horizon line that runs from east to west. So if I'm holding the horizon line here, and we see that the rotation of the Earth causes the signs to come up, such as this, in the course of a 24-hour period of a day. We get a different sign rising every 2 hours on the horizon. Now, obviously, when we have the horizon line running across, and in this case, there's no planets above the horizon, we can't see any planets, we can't see the sun, we can't see the moon high in the sky. But as the day progresses and the rotation of the Earth causes new signs to rise on the horizon, kaboom, then we start to see, in this case, Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, just at morning, before the sun's risen at dawn, there they are, bright on the eastern horizon in the sky. And then the Earth keeps rotating and up comes the sun. And as soon as the sun comes up, these planets go invisible. We don't see them because everything's illuminated in the sun, the glare of the sun. But as you can see from that illustration, when the sun is below the horizon, these planets are visible in the sky. And that is a very exciting thing, that the planets are becoming visible. That means their energy is returning. The experience of these planets is now felt again. Their energy is felt because they're no longer swallowed up in the glare of the sun. So it's a great time. And not only that, but we have all planets moving forward this week. And this is very, very exciting because now we've got planets becoming visible and we've got forward momentum. I'm going to talk a bit more about this as we get into the weather. Now, if you've listened to some astrology reports, mainly the ones based in Northern Hemisphere astrology, you'll have heard that Venus is currently invisible and will be staying invisible until sort of April, late April. But that's not the case if you live in the Southern Hemisphere. Venus, because of the angular tilt of the Earth and our vantage point here in the Southern Hemisphere, Venus is actually still visible in the sky right now. She's going to be becoming less visible, and she will actually go completely invisible at a certain point. For those of us in the Southern Hemisphere, though, she is still a morning star. Difficult to see, like you have to sort of squint your eyes or get some binoculars, but she is still visible there and will continue to be so for the next couple of weeks. So If you are a person who works on the astrology premise that if a planet is invisible, then you cannot undertake the activities pertaining to that planet with any success, then just know if you're in the southern hemisphere, then you can go for it with Venus for another couple of weeks, because she is present still in the sky. She's not disappeared in the glare of the sun. So this is great news if you want to launch a fashion brand, if you, especially once Mercury goes direct from its retrograde motion. Great news if you're in the southern hemisphere and you want to, have a cafe or do some sort of food-related kind of, cupcake stall or something like that, because Venus rules things like clothing, beauty, food, indulgences, pleasures. So anything in those industries, those fields, you're actually free to take momentum with, and money and love as well. So don't feel if you're in the southern hemisphere that you've got to wait until April. You can actually be making the most of those energies right now. And I want to ask, have you found things this year to be cooler than usual given the particular season you might happen to be in? I know the northern hemisphere has been experiencing particularly in the States, a lot of cold weather coming from Arctic blasts and what have you. In the southern hemisphere though, certainly where I live, it's been so cool. I've barely gotten out my my summer clothing. I'm wearing my spring-based clothing, and if I go out, I'm always making sure I've got a jacket with me just in case it gets really chilly. It's been a very cool summer where I live. I took my kids away for a family summer holiday retreat to a friend's place down at the beach, and we barely had a day that was warm enough to go swimming. So it's been really, really interesting, and there is an astronomical reason for this. In 2019, scientists believe that we ended a cycle 24, which had all the hallmarks of a solar maximum qualities. And we've entered into the solar cycle 25 now, which has the qualities of a solar minimum. What are they? More cooler temperatures, cooler weather. Now, a lot of people have been predicting, not so much scientists, although there is a faction of scientists who are aligned with this, but the idea of the grand solar minimum, like a couple of 100 years ago, I think it was the 1700s, we had the 1600s, 1700s, the potato famine in Ireland was caused by a grand solar minimum, like a mini ice age where things wouldn't grow because temperatures were just too damn cold. And so we're in a solar minimum. It's not a grand solar minimum. Grand solar minimums only come around every couple of 100 years or so. And so we're in this solar minimum period. And astronomically, what's causing this is a lack of solar activity. The sun's gone quiet. Less solar flares, less sunspot activity. And this is what reduces our temperatures on the Earth and may very well have contributed to the Arctic blasts that have been being experienced in America. So just wanted you to know, I mean, this is an astrology channel, but it's important to understand the astronomy of what's going on as well. And I'm equally as fascinated by the astronomy of our universe as the astrology. It's all tied in together. It's all one. So if you've been wondering why it's colder than usual this year, and maybe last year as well was quite cool too, then this is the reason. And we are in this cycle. I think it's going to peak in 2025. So we've got a few years yet to go of this grand solar minimum kind of cycle where we're having the cooler temperatures. But let's move along from the current astronomy in the sky, which is, as always, very, very fascinating. But let's look at how it's going to affect us personally this week by looking at the astrology. So first up, I'm going to give you some dates, and if you would like to write them down, it's a really good idea. Note them on your calendar, and that way you'll have an idea as the week goes along and the week progresses. You'll be like, oh yeah, that's happening today, and oh, that's why I feel this way. Okay, now it all makes sense. So that would be my tip to you to get the most out of this week's Astro Weather Report. So 20th of February, we're going to have the first astrological weather component, and that is Venus making a square to Mars. So here's Mars down here in the latter degrees of Taurus and making a square to Venus. So this is happening at around 23 degrees of both Aquarius and Taurus, and as such, if you have planets around those points, that is going to be highly triggered for you. Now, what else is happening this week is on the 22nd, we've got Mercury. Mercury going direct at last. So this is good news. Hooray! Finally get out the party poppers and celebrate. Open that bottle of wine. We are having a forward momentum from Mercury, which is very much needed. Not only that, but on the 25th of February, we're going to be having a beautiful trine. And this is occurring at 25 degrees of Taurus and Capricorn between Pluto and Mars. This is lovely. I'm going to talk about this particularly for all signs. And then finally this week, hope you've been writing these down so that you've got a record of this in your diary. Finally this week, we're going to be having a sextile between the Sun and Uranus occurring Pisces to Taurus there. Then we are actually going to be having a full moon in Virgo as well. That's occurring on the 27th, so Saturday in Australia. That's going to be happening, but I'm not talking about the moons and the moon cycles such as the full moon and the new moon in my astro weather reports any longer, because those special reports I'm sharing with my Patreon family. So they're going to get all the astronomical information, all the astrological information, and the mystical information as well, how to work with the moon's lunations, the moon's changes, the moon's cycles and phases to get the best advantage in your life, to make the most of that energy in your life. So if you're interested in joining us for all that information each week, then do head over to my Patreon page. The link's in the description below, and become a member and join us for those moon reports, as well as some other astrological information that I like to share there. But for now, let's break down each of these signatures and what is happening in the sky. The first one is happening, as I said, on the 20th, Mars-Venus square aspect between Aquarius and Taurus. What's that mean for us? Well, this is a great sexual energy, particularly if you're in a loving, safe, secure type relationship. Then your desire for your partner might increase because there's just more passion in the ether, and you can make the most of that by enjoying sexual activity with your partner. This is one of the better qualities of this particular hard aspect. The rest of the qualities that often exhibit through this energy that will be playing out for everyone can be a little bit more tough to take, a little bit more difficult. Let's explore some of those. Because there is a lot of passion now out there in the world under this energy, we may find that there's a lot more affairs develop, a lot more flings, a lot more sort of one-night stands. Not that that's a bad thing if you're into one-night stands, as long as your partner knows that's what you're into and nothing more. But we find that affairs can initiate under this energy. But whatever is initiated under Mars square Venus is not very likely to last. And it will pass just as quickly as it comes, you know. So just be aware of that. And if you do have planets around 23 degrees of any of the fixed signs, which are Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio, then you may be susceptible to that kind of tete-a-tete, that kind of interaction. That's more of an affair than anything solid and long-lasting. And a word of warning just while we're talking about relationship factors. Well, Venus is the planet of relationships, and Mars can be quite violent. And here in a square aspect, his more shadowy side does tend to exhibit, as can Venus's shadowy side of being maybe a little bit lazy or indulgent. But here, when these two are having a bit of an interaction like this that's heavy, if you are in, and I said this a couple of weeks ago as well in one of my Astro Weather reports, the same thing applies. If you are in a dysfunctional relationship, a relationship where there is perhaps violence or abuse that comes out from time to time, then as best you're able to, and we know it's hard to remove yourself from these kinds of circumstances, sometimes we can't help it. Recently I watched the movie with Julia Roberts, Sleeping with the Enemy. I watched that with my daughter, and was reminded, you know, how hard it can be for people to escape abusive situations. Now, if you're in that sort of situation, do your best to perhaps go visit a friend or a relative, or just remove yourself from the circumstances as much as you're able to, and your children as well, if they're in the firing line. From a man or a woman, we know domestic violence happens from either party, not just men. So yeah, do yourself the best you can to remove yourself from that dreadful kind of difficult influence, because it's this energy is going to be an exacerbation of that frustration and that tension that triggers those sorts of behaviors. Okay, just forewarned is forearmed once again here. The primal energy that we have as beasts, if you want to call us beasts, we are animals, we are mammals, you know, this primal driving sexual force, it kind of overtakes a bit under this energy. And so if you know, we can see sexual violence occurring under an energy like this one. So again, please be careful and do all you can to make sure and ensure you and your loved ones are safe. Now, generally speaking, there can be a lot of anger, lack of ability to have self-control, tension, frustration, and reactivity, sexual behavior aside, that are just present now in relationships. So if you've been sweeping something under the rug in your relationship and pretending it's not an issue when really it deep down is, then it may just burst out like a volcano now, and you might find that you're full of anger, just going to your partner, who perhaps didn't deserve the tirade, you know, or didn't deserve that frustrated explosion. So be aware that that energy is going to be present as well. You may exhibit it to a partner. You may be on the receiving end as well. If that happens, you'll know where it's coming from. It's, you know, the energy of Mars square Venus. But maybe it's a wake-up call to not be sweeping things under the rug. Maybe it's a wake-up call to say, you know, I shouldn't just swallow, you know, this particular habit or activity or in my relationship and just put up with it. Maybe I should address things more. Maybe I should lay them on the table before they have time to build into a volcanic eruption. So, you know, there can be some lessons to be learned through energies such as this as well. But there's a huge amount of energy that can be required under this square to actually earn money, because Venus is money and Mars is energy. And when we have a square aspect, you've heard me describe this before, it's a bit like the rugby scrum or the gridirons. I don't know if they call it a scrum in gridiron, but pushing against one another, headbutting one another, trying to get through and get some momentum, but there's a block that's there stopping you. That's the energy of a square. And so what's happening here is Venus wants money, Mars wants to, you know, put some energy towards making money, but there's a block, there's a restriction, there's something's not happening, and it could just be the energy that we can't see or, you know, touch or anything like that. But we're doing our best, we're working really hard, we're pushing ourselves energetically to the max, and yet nothing's happening, no response, no recompense. So that can be a frustrated energy towards generating money that comes with this. We might be spending a lot of money to make money. That can also happen with this energy. Like, for example, I need to buy myself a new camera for my videoing, because the focus on this one's pretty crap. And so, you know, maybe I need to, like, whether this is a good energy to do that or not is probably not, because Mercury hasn't yet gone direct. But, you know, we might find that we are required or we need to spend money to make money. That's just one illustration that I've given you there. But that can be a thing. Also, Mars is very entrepreneurial, so we can be spending money on an entrepreneurial endeavor or a startup or an idea or some creative thing we want to implement. We might find we have to spend a lot of money on those sorts of things, some you know, business idea or entrepreneurial startup or something like that. This is also an energy for saying no to what we don't want to do, and that can be really, really good. So this is another of the more positive sides to this square. We might have the impetus or the willpower to say, nah, I'm not going to that party. You know, I just want to curl up with a book in bed tonight. Where otherwise we might have just, you know, buckled over and said, okay, well, if it'll make you happy, I'll go to the party. Venus is you know, pleasurable experiences, it's parties, it's, you know, the more delightful experiences. And Mars is our willpower. So maybe there's times when we don't want to go and be social, and maybe we'll have the courage to say no under this energy. But it's not just Venusian things that we want to say no to. I mean, not many people want to say no to, say, Venus, more money, more love, more indulgence, more pleasure. But it's just having the ability to say no to what we don't want now. And that can be a really good thing, you know. We don't want to move. We don't want to share a room with a dodgy flatmate anymore. We don't want to, you know, we can say no to things now under this energy. And that can be a big help. So the next energy that we're looking at is Mercury. Mercury moving direct at last. So while Mercury was retrograding, lots of interesting things can happen. We find that we review our decisions. We review the choices that we've made in our life. Were they for my best? Have they paid off? Have they brought me what I hoped they'd bring me? Do I need to review and change my decision now and make a different direction? We do a lot of that, you know, evaluation and testing and approving within ourselves, within our thought processes under Mercury retrograde. We can also research our next steps. I've certainly been doing that. I've been looking at, okay, well, should my business be supported by the universe? Should I be attracting the right people into my life who need what I have to share and what I have to give? Then thanks be to the universe. And where do I want my business to go from here? Where do I want the next steps to take me? And so we're reviewing where we're at and where we want to go with our business. But also with general planning in life as well, because Mercury is to plan. It's not about making choice. That's actually a Venus thing. But it's about planning and, you know, looking at all the pros and cons and the obstacles and the opportunities. And it's about, you know, the evaluation process is Mercury. So this is a great energy under Mercury retrograde to be doing the evaluation. But now that Mercury is turning direct, we're going to be able to put these evaluations and plans into action. Before we talk about that, though, there is another thing that happens under Mercury retrograde, which I've never noticed in my own life so much, but I know that it is a thing that is associated with Mercury when it is retrograding, and that is seeing people from the past come back into your life. Now, I've not really experienced that very strongly up until this Mercury retrograde. I'm going to give you a little bit of an illustration from my own life, if that's all right. But I happen to have Pisces rising. So most people know that. Most people know what I have in my chart, or the primal triad of my chart, they know anyway. Pisces rising, which means Mercury was retrograding in my 4th house. Sorry, 12th house. I don't know where I got 4 from, but 12th house. And so what that's meant for me is people who are coming back into my life who I believe were actually very karmically linked to me, part of my karmic growth. 12th house is karma and past lives. People who I've tangoed with before in past life experiences came back into my life this Mercury retrograde period in order for me to perhaps let them go completely, to purge myself and release myself of the energetic connection that may have been there once and for all. Very past life karmic kind of stuff. Not only that, though, what was interesting to me is these people who are coming back into my life were a certain kind of person, which was shown by the Mercury retrograde position for my sun and my moon. Let me give you an example. My sun is in Leo, and that means Mercury was retrograding in the 7th house of relationships and partnerships, committed relationships and partnerships. And one person who came back into my life after not having talked to him for months and months, well, almost a year really, was my ex-husband. We get along fine. We just don't have very much to do with each other. And lo and behold, you know, he invited the children and I out for ice cream. And so this was like, wow, where did that come from? Aha, Mercury retrograding in my 7th house from the sun. Not only that, I have my moon in Libra. And that puts Mercury retrograde in the house of dating and, for me, boyfriends and sort of romance and so forth. And I had 3, not that I've had many boyfriends in my life, I haven't, but 3 people that I have either been very, very interested in when I was a young woman in high school and what have you, or people that I have dated since who reconnected with me completely out of the blue, unexplained, unexpected, like, wow, where did that come from? Oh, it came from Mercury retrograding in my 5th house of old boyfriends, you know. So these were all karmic experiences that had something to lay to rest, that had something to end and resolve and finish up, because of what was going on with all the houses that were being triggered through Mercury retrograding. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. But I shouldn't be, because that is totally the kind of thing that we see happening with Mercury retrograde when people come from our past come back into our lives. Astounding. What happened to you in Mercury retrograde? I'd love to hear some stories if you want to share them in the comments below, because we are a community and we learn so much from one another. So now that Mercury is moving forward, he's reached his, on the 22nd of December, he's reached his sort of stationary motion where he'll sit and throb away with his most powerful energy directed at us, and then he'll start to move forward in motion again. He's as far away, where is he? He's as far away as he can get from the sun. He's at, I think it's just from memory called the perigee, like the furthest away from the sun. So this is a very, very important time for Mercury when he turns direct. So we're going to get double Mercury energy sort of sent into our lives on the 22nd. Plus then we're going to get lots more forward momentum. And what does this mean? Well, we can finally set the wheels in motion to get things happening in our lives with those plans that we've made, with those goals that we've set, with the revision we've been, you know, giving to something important in our life. And if we've been waiting to sign a contract, and I know people have been, you have the green light. It's now time to sign that contract and get the wheels turning for maybe that new business, or maybe that new, you know, arrangement, that new promotional agreement that you needed to set up, that marketing campaign that you needed to sign off on. Now is the time. It's all going to start moving forward for you. And maybe if, like me, you've had people from the past come back into your life and you've cleared all that stuff out of your life, then maybe it's time for new people to come in, because you've made space from, you know, working things out with people from your past experiences, even past lives. So launch that project, start that advertising campaign, create that new friendship, and see where the momentum of Mercury direct takes you. We now have all planets direct, and this is a special time. This is going to last throughout March and into April, where all the planets are moving direct. So we've got so much momentum now to achieve, to get things done, to shine, to flourish, to see things grow. It is a really precious time. And it's only going to last a couple of months, and it's the only time this year we're going to have all the planets direct moving forward. So get ready to, you know, get your skates on. It's time to go. So the next energy we want to talk about is the beautiful energy that's happening this week, and I'm going to talk about this for all signs. We are having Pluto making a glorious trine to Mars, and a trine has the energy of Jupiter, ease and benevolence that just comes to you. So beautiful, beautiful energy. Well, how is this going to work? Well, in the positive, this is going to be really great for physical interaction. So physical exercise is going to be enhanced. You'll be more motivated. You'll have more ambition to get fit and healthy and get more muscular, or tone those arms, or whatever it happens to be. You will have more motivation for physical exercise. Mars is our muscles and our physical, you know, exercise, you know, body, what we do to keep our body fit in the physical side of things. So this is supported. You're going to get more power in that realm, but also sexually, because Mars is a sexual planet and Pluto is a very sexual planet too. Pluto, I mean, Mars is desire. I want you. You're sexy and let's go to bed, you know. But Pluto is it's different kind of energy. It's very of the 8th house, which is much more ethereal sexuality. It's that I'm bonded with you, and this takes things to another realm. This makes our, like, so, you know, if you've had that, like a sexual experience that's just left you in a state of ecstasy, and you feel like, you know, I just want to pray with my partner or meditate with my partner because I feel so close with them, so bonded with them, so at one with them. That's Pluto energy. It is the intensity of sexual experience. Mars is let's get the rompy-pompy happening. Pluto is, oh, that was just exquisite, and you know, my life will never be the same again. Transformation through sex, tantra, a spiritual connection to one another through a sexual act. So with that in mind, of the different qualities of sexuality that are expressed through Mars and Pluto, just know if you're in a relationship, the sexual activity that you undertake on the 25th of February, when this is happening, this is very special. And it can really take you to the ethereal heights of connection and intimacy with a partner. And who wouldn't want that? Let's face it. Now, both Mars and Pluto are very risk-taking planets. You know, Mars is the warrior, the hero. I'm going to get out there and fight. Now, to get out there and fight in a battle, in a war, you've got to be a bit gutsy. You've got to have some courage. You've got to take a bit of a risk to put yourself out there. And Pluto is our willpower to assert ourselves. That's actually sometimes can be quite a risky thing to do. Let's face it, if you're a kid and you've got grumpy parents and you know you're a very Pluto strong child and you want to assert your willpower, I mean, that's a risk. You know, you don't know how mum and dad are going to respond. They might get even grumpier. You know, that kind of Pluto energy is risk taking as well, because it is about asserting our willpower and our personal power. So when these two planets of willpower, personal power, and courage combine, then we can take a risk knowing the universe actually has our back, because this is a benevolent Jupiterian trine, beneficial. So if you've got a risk that you need to undertake, this is the energy to do it under. If you've been eyeing off that guy on campus all year long, then this is your energy to go up to him and ask him out for a drink. If you have been needing to speak to your boss about something that's not right in a work environment, maybe somebody's exploiting you, or that you have a position description and somebody keeps trying to make you do more beyond your position description or something, then this energy can make you sort of take that deep breath and go in and face your boss and say, no, hang on, I'm not happy with this. You know, taking that risk, that step of courage can be, it's not that it's easier done under this energy, but we have more confidence. We have more momentum to use our willpower under this energy. We have great motivation, not only for exercise, but for risk taking, you know. Right, I've eyed that guy off on campus all year long. Deep breath, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go up to him and I'm going to say what I need to say. And if I get rejected, so what? It doesn't matter. And you get that momentum, that courage, that confidence to go forward and take the risks you need to in life. The good news is it's also a positive change-making energy. So if you're not happy with the status quo, if you're not happy with constantly daydreaming about that guy on campus and just sort of going to bed every night and, nothing happened. And well, this is the change-making energy you may need. It's perfect for seeing a transformation, because Pluto is transformation. So if you want to transform, going to bed lonely every night to going to bed with that cute guy on campus, well, this is the energy for you. Not only is it sexually heightened, but it's going to give you the courage, and it is a change-making energy designed to bring about transformation in our lives, change in our lives, and for the better because of the benevolence of the trine aspect. Our personal power is also strengthened through this connection, which is really, really nice, because both planets have to do with our willpower and the assertion of our willpower. And so when we have this lovely connection between the two of them, our personal power is stronger. We have just greater inner strength and determination. We also have greater magnetism. So it was funny, when I was growing up, there was this ridiculous deodorant ads on television, and look, they're probably the same as deodorant ads all over the world. We had this deodorant called Impulse, and if a woman sprayed herself with Impulse, then she could expect that a man would suddenly rush up and give her flowers out of the blue unexpectedly, like, oh, where did that come from? And that was this deodorant ad, and I'm sure no matter what country in the world you've lived in, you've probably experienced an ad similar to that. But that's the energy of this particular interaction, like between Pluto and Mars. It's passion and desire and impulsivity. Mars meets, the willpower to act. And so it's a great energy, and a sexual desire is strong with this, plus the magnetic quality that we carry is present. So don't be surprised if someone suddenly rushes up and gives you flowers under this influence. Or if you're a guy, I don't know what a girl she might give you a wink or something, or buy you a drink. I don't know what. I'm not very good at that sort of thing, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, this is an energy, a great energy for magnetism, and you can use this. It can be to your advantage. It's a blessed energy to magnetically attract not only the people and love circumstances and sexual relationships that you want in life, but anything. It's a magnetizing energy. You want more success? You might well magnetize that to you. Put it out there in the universe. Get the support of your angels and of the divine. You might actually attract the success that you desire. You want to, attract in a better roommate in your house because your old one was crap. You may magnetize that to you now. You want to draw in a job with better pay. You might magnetize that to yourself now. This is a great energy for that sort of thing to happen, for magnetizing what we desire, Mars, to us. Our ambitions rise up under this energy too. We become more ambitious. We become more focused on what we want, and because of that, success can actually come to us. Magnetism is part of it, but our desire for success increases under this energy too. So all of this is kind of the Hermetic principle. As within, so without. What's going on inside of me, the energy I'm generating within me is exhibiting now externally and attracting to me all the things that I actually really want. And because it's a transformative energy, you can actually change the dynamic with a controlling person in your life. Because in the negative, in the shadow side, Pluto represents people who have control. And Mars making a benevolent trine can shake that up. So if you're in a situation with, say, a boss who's controlling, or a partner who's controlling, or a flatmate who is manipulative in some way, you can change that under this energy. It's a great energy for turning that around and changing the dynamics with a controlling person. Because it's a change-making energy, you might also change through a sexual interaction as well because of the nature of these planets. So you know what it's like. Sometimes if you've been alone and you meet someone and there's a intimacy there and a bond that forms between you, it turns your grey, dull, rainy day into rainbows and songbirds and all that Disney stuff. A beautiful, intimate dynamic can absolutely change how you see the world. Not only that, but sexual exchanges at this time under this energy can just change who we are for the better, because it's a benevolent trine, remember? So if you're in a relationship and you have a beautiful sexual evening together, you might find suddenly your perspective on the world really shifts, really changes, really alters, or the way you feel about your partner up levels in some way, or just even your sense of worth and self-value can shift as well through a blessed sexual interaction with a loved one. So your loved one. You can have more than one, I suppose. But it's great for that. So it really, this energy is what we're going to talk about particularly for each sign. And I'm just going to break it down briefly, talking about the risk-taking element of this sign and how it might express for you when we go through all signs. Don't forget, if you want to jump to a different sign, just go to the comments section below, where usually some glorious person, thank you Kylie, but sometimes others, will put a list of timestamps and you can jump to whatever sign you like. I would suggest your moon sign, your sun sign, and your rising sign are all valuable. But before we start getting into each sign, I need to point out one thing that's worth knowing about this. And that is that during this trine from Mars to Pluto, Mars is going to be conjunct the most difficult fixed star in the whole of the sky. This is Algol. I actually feel sorry for Algol as a star, quite frankly. I've talked a lot about Algol in my Patreon videos. But Algol is at the head of Medusa, and I hate the Medusa myth. She was raped. She was victimized, and she was cursed for having been raped. and sent away from connection with any other humans because of her curse, which was a head of snakes that would and a gaze that would turn people to stone. My heart breaks for Medusa. I hate it. Somebody needs to re-myth that one. But Medusa in the sky, she's a constellation in the sky, the constellation of Medusa. Medusa carries Algol in her head, the star Algol, and it is considered to be the most malefic of all the stars. The ancient Hebrews actually believed Algol was Lilith. So, you know, the Hebrew mythology about the first wife of Adam was Lilith. They didn't see her as the dark side of the moon, which most astrologers kind of go on about, you know, dark moon Lilith and stuff like that. In the ancient times, Lilith was Algol. And she was this, I guess, demon, kind of vampire-y kind of figure that represented sort of nastiness. Now, the thing with Algol is it's not always a nasty star. It depends, and it's very hard to measure this. There's no apps that I'm aware of to measure whether Algol is in its positive phase or its negative phase. It flickers in color. And when it's a certain color, like let's say white, it's benevolent. When it's blue, it's going to give you detriment if you've got Algol in your natal chart around 25, 26 degrees of Aquarius. So here is Algol, this horribly victimized Medusa star, and it gives difficulty, Algol. And what it's known to produce whenever Mars is with Algol is murder. So I don't like talking about negativity, but let's face it, we live in the third dimensional reality where we get a mixed hand, you know. It's not all sunshine, lollipops and rainbows, thank you, Leslie Gore. It's actually, you know, life is a mixed bag of results, and we're here to learn as best we can from the mixed bag of lollies, you know. I'm not going to like every lolly in our mixed bag. I certainly never did as a child. Couldn't stand the bananas in the mixed bag of lollies. But anyway, so Mars is with Algol, and that's a signature for murder. So, not that you're going to be murdered. It's just going to be an experience that it happens once every 2 years that Mars is with Algol. But we may see something, there might be something in the news that's quite disturbing as a result of this energy. So be aware on the 25th, Mars with Algol, not known for its benevolent qualities. So the final energy before we get to the all signs breakdown, thanks for sticking with me, is this beautiful little sextile between the Sun and Uranus on the 26th. This is a really nice energy. I'll just go through it briefly. It can represent career change. And I know that a lot of Taurian people who have Taurus strong in their charts, have been thinking about shaking off the shackles of a particular career they're unhappy in anyway. That's just the energy that poor Taurus is experiencing right now with all of this square activity directed to their sign. So this one is going to sort of perhaps give you that sort of kick in the butt to go and change, but it's going to happen through an opportunity, because a sextile is an opportunity that comes to you. You don't have to grab it. You can let it roll on by. You don't have to take it. But this is an opportunity for betterment. That's what a sextile is, an opportunity for a better scenario than the one you're currently in. So keep your eyes peeled. You may get an opportunity for career betterment when the Sun is sextiling Uranus in this case. It's also a great energy for being open to new ideas, open to starting new things, because Uranus wants to experiment, it wants to mix it up, it wants to liberate, wants to, let's get kooky with this, you know. And the Sun is about how we shine in the world and our career and our our confidence. So Uranus is saying, okay, Sun, let's inject some fresh ideas, some liberate this energy. How can we sort of make your career fresher? How can we give you more confidence? How can we make you feel like you're shining in all your full capacity? Let's do this, and let's experiment. Let's do whatever is needed to bring the new energy into how you shine in the world. So expect some new vibes, if you like. But it's perfect, also perfect energy if you work in media and promotions or copywriting or anything like that. This is a great energy for that. Great energy for internet activity also. For for maybe Mercury is now direct, so launching that advertising campaign, or starting that website, or establishing that online discussion group or something. This is a super duper energy for that kind of activity. Uranus rules the internet, and the sun is going to empower the Uranian things. And basically the sun is our vitality. When it's got a harmonious interaction with Uranus, it's going to give more vitality that bubbles up, like an electric vitality, shall we say, because Uranus rules electricity, and the sun is our vitality. So expect to be more vitalized under this particular energy. Okay, so now we're going to break things down for all signs. Before we do, I just want you to know Kesenya, my beautiful tarot reader, is offering love readings. This is leading on from Valentine's Day. Special love tarot readings. I'm going to be promoting that with each of the signs because I want people to, make the most of that opportunity. She's not going to offer these specialized love tarot readings forever. There's a special Valentine's Day offering. So that's going to be present with each of my sign breakdowns. Let's make a start. In fact, why don't we start with Taurus? Because, you guys are a bit under the pump recently with all that square action headed towards your sign. So Taurus, you guys are going to be feeling like you need to take a risk this week, and it will be supported for you to do so with the things of the first house. That might be starting something new, taking some initiation in a certain area of your life, taking some action where you've been sitting and waiting and biding your time. Now you can take a start. You can take that risk. Maybe you're establishing some entrepreneurial business. Maybe you're wanting to go and approach somebody over some issue. Maybe you're going to, maybe you want to sort of act in your own willpower. How can I support myself? And maybe you need to take a risk in honoring yourself, in being there for yourself and asserting yourself. So it might take a risk for you to do so, but you are supported in taking action to assert yourself in the world at the moment. You also may be inclined to want to take a risk with your physical appearance or your bodily health. Now, I would encourage you, taking a risk is great, but I would never encourage anyone to do anything dangerous. So don't be too risky with what your body is capable of. But certainly, you might have decided that you want to go and do a yoga class, and it feels risky to you because you've never got involved with yoga before. Now that sounds odd, doesn't it? Because probably everyone in our community has done yoga at least once. But I certainly know a lot of people in the community I come from, where I grew up in, who have never darkened the door of a yoga studio in their life, and to do so would be a risky thing to do. But for the benefit of their body and their health and well-being, first house things, it might be time to overcome that hurdle and that sort of mental obstacle to going and doing some yoga, or a dance class, or a Zumba lesson, or maybe something else to do with physical health and well-being that your body needs. Maybe you've never gone for a jog before, and okay, I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to run, just going to run a K and see how I go with running a kilometer. I might have to stop a bit, but I'm going to take that risk of doing something new, initiating something new. It could also be a risk with how you look. So, maybe you've never had your eyebrows done professionally before, and this is a bit of a, what's going to happen here? They won't make me look ridiculous, will they? Risk. It's time to take a risk with your body in some way. Maybe it's a risk going and getting, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something, maybe laser skin resurfacing or something, and you decide, oh God, that's so scary and it damages so much of your skin just to, okay, but I'll take that risk. You might like to consider, something that's going to be for your image, and it's a risk. It might even be buying a certain item of clothing, I've never worn an off-the-shoulder blouse before. I'll take that risk, and maybe it'll look nice. I don't know, but I'm gonna take that risk. Going with a whole look that you don't usually have, or changing things up in some way can feel like a risk. and risks are going to pay off now for you, for everybody, under Pluto Mars energy. So don't be afraid to take a risk with who you are. Okay, for Gemini rising, sun or moon, well, your risk-taking ventures are likely to be expressing themselves in the oopsies, I'll have to hold that, in the 12th house. Now, I just want to mention, before we go on, that Kesenya, my tarot card reader at guidingstar.astrology.com, she is offering a special love horoscope for the month of February to celebrate Valentine's Day. Get a reading if you're wanting to know about your love life or lack of one. She is brilliant. Okay, so with the energy of Mars and the risk-taking energy in the 12th house, this is the area of life that you can take a risk and have it pay off this week. So it might be to do with some sort of hidden investments. Maybe you've got secret bank accounts overseas or something like that, and that's been a risky thing for you to have undertaken, and maybe or maybe thinking about setting up a overseas offshore bank account or something, and that's a risky thing. And now's the time, because the 12th house is hidden things that aren't open to the public, and it's foreign things as well. So in the sign of Taurus, which is about money, foreign banks, foreign monetary affairs could be a good risk to involve yourself in. Now, the 12th house is also spirituality. So it might feel risky to you to be involved in some sort of different type of spiritual practice. Maybe, you've never tried channeling before, but everybody's talking about it, and you decide, okay, well, look, maybe it feels risky to me. Maybe I'm afraid, maybe you've heard things from other astrologers like, if you open yourself up to the other realms, then you never know what might enter in. And 12th house is about other dimensions, angelic realms, the divine. And so, I'm afraid to open myself up to those things. Well, maybe that's a risk that you might want, feel impelled to take under this energy that's going to pay off for you. It's going to take you deeper into your spiritual awareness, deeper into your spiritual understanding, deeper into your psychic capacity by being open to the divine flowing through you through maybe a channeling session, or maybe you've been afraid to get a past life regression. Well, this energy says it's really good to take a risk now. You're supported in taking a risk now. So don't be afraid to go and have that past life regression. Don't be afraid to, maybe go and speak with a shaman, although that's more of an 8th house thing. But past life regression and karma is certainly seen here from the 12th. So if you're dealing with that sort of thing, don't be afraid under this energy. It's supported and you will get a lot out of it. You might be also considering it risky to be creative. This is a very creative house, the 12th house, and it's creativity that comes inspired from the heavens, comes inspired from the divine, from sort of Neptunian realms, of the angelic realms. And so, sorry Gemini, I've let you go for a wander. You might be feeling now like it's a risk to make this film, or it's a risk to share my photography with the world, or it's a risk to undertake some sort of creative project, music, songwriting, poetry, or whatever. I want to encourage you, take the risk. Be bold, be courageous, be brave, because under this energy you're supported now and it can really work in your favor. It can also feel like a risk to get healing. So maybe you've been afraid to go and see a certain type of healer or a healing practitioner, or to take a certain acupuncture or some sort of medication or something, or go and see a chiropractor or some sort of healing mechanism that might have felt scary to you. I want to say, Gemini people, don't be afraid. This is the time for taking action and for being rewarded for your risk-taking when Pluto and Mars make a benevolent trine on the 25th. Okay, so for Cancer rising, Sun or Moon people, we've got this risk-taking energy of Mars in your 11th house, which is a great place to have it. Before I talk about that, though, I just do want to mention Kesenya, my beautiful Russian-Irish tarot reader. She is offering a special love reading just for the month of February. If you want to find out about your love life or your lack of one, she is the most compassionate, wise, and intuitive woman I think I've encountered. And she's offering this special reading through guidingstar.astrology.com just for the month of February. Okay, so back to what's happening for Cancer rising people. taking a risk in the 11th house. What goals, what dreams do you have? What have you been reviewing during Mercury retrograde period in terms of your aspirations, in terms of, you know, how you want to propel yourself forward in the world and what you want to achieve? Well, now is the time for taking action regarding those goals, regarding those dreams, for seeing some sort of courageous move pay off. Because this is a risk-taking energy. Pluto, Trine, Mars on the 25th. This is going to bring us the impetus to take a risk and the benefit and success that comes from a bold move. So whatever your dreams and goals are, now's the time to take action, knowing that your risk can be rewarded. I'd also point out, if you're feeling like you need to take a risk with friends, maybe there's a friendship group at college or a friendship group at school or something, and you've been sort of on the outer, a bit afraid to sort of join the crew, or maybe there's a social group or some sort of club or something, and you've been, you know, a bit apprehensive about joining them or becoming a part of the group. Under this energy, I mean, you are so supported, Cancer people, for connecting. Take a risk. Go and join that club. Go and join that group. Go and join that activist society or humanitarian society. Go and sort of, you know, not push your way into a friendship group, but be present, contribute. Invite people over for, you know, a movie at the weekend or something like that. Do what you need to sort of initiate, take a risk into joining some friendship group or some network of some sort. It will pay off. It will bring you benefits in the long term. Social connections you make through taking a risk under this energy will bring you success, because this is the house of our networks and systems. And if we have a web of people, because the 11th house rules webs, if we have a web of people that we're connected with, even if we don't see it, maybe 5 years down the track, if we don't see it right now, but 5 years down the track, knowing that diverse group of people, it pays off. You know, maybe we start an advertising campaign, and because we've got this diverse network of people and friends, they're telling their friends, and it's getting out there, and this advertising campaign through word of mouth and friendships and connections just going berserk, and really pays off for us. So taking the risk now with friendship groups and networks and webs of people totally pays off in the long term. Now, also, this is the house connected to systems, as I've already mentioned. Of course, one of those is the internet. So don't be afraid to take a risk, maybe launching a website or some sort of internet venture or a crowdfunding kind of campaign or something like that. It's supported now under this energy. But any other systems as well, maybe, you know, the ecological system or the environmental system, and you need to take a risk by sort of standing up and saying no more plastic in the ocean, and I'm going to make people aware of this, and I'm going to make sure that you know, the voice of the orangutans in Borneo, that's heard, you know, that people realize what damage is being done. Whatever environmental concern, you know, you have, this is a time when you can actually take a risk in putting yourself out there and stepping up regarding that activism for some, like I said, an ecological circumstance or an environmental system, some sort of biological issue or a neurological issue, anything that has to do with systems and has to do with even distribution amongst systems. You know, we have to make things fair, we have to make things harmonious, we have to make things balanced. Don't be afraid to take a risk with those things as well. All right, let's move on. Leo rising, sun or moon people. Leo rising, sun or moon people. Well, the energy of Mars is falling for you up here in your 10th house, and this is where you can take a risk this week. Before I get into what that looks like, I just want to mention my beautiful Russian-Irish tarot card reader, Kesenya, same name as me. She is offering a special love reading for the month of February. It's just for the month of February alone, from Valentine's Day to the end of February. If you want to know about your love life or your lack of one, she is the most brilliant tarot card reader, and you can go and order her reading at guidingstar.astrology.com. Check her out there. Okay, back to what's happening with the 10th house for Leo people. Well, taking a risk with career is important. Now, it might mean that, you know, you take a risk and you approach some sort of authority figure, some advisor, some some boss, some hierarchical person who can give you some assistance. But it's risky to do so. Oh, what's it going to cost me if I go and speak to this expert or that person with all their knowledge? Or, what will my boss say if I come and take a risk and ask for that promotion, or say I want better arrangements with my my job description so that it covers what I'm actually doing, and what's my boss's response going to be? Can feel like a risk to go and interact with these authority figures, these people who are in higher sort of more authoritative place in the world than we are. But it's worth doing it this week because this energy is supported. Any risk taking to do with your career, to do with encountering authority figures, is just under a great deal of benefit from the heavens this week. So don't be afraid. Your risk taking can pay off. Now, if you're looking at launching a project to do with career, if you're looking at maybe doing some sort of, I don't know, it could be anything that's going to help your career. Depends what career you're in. If you going for the lead role in a play in the West End, or putting in your contract application for a mining job, or I don't know, I'm trying to think of a million different jobs. Whatever it is that your job requires, for me, it might be launching a new product or something, or a new webinar or something like that. Whatever risk that you need to take to enhance your career, it is favored under the energy of the 25th of February. You are blessed this week to take that risk, to launch that product, to put your contract application in, to apply to get that lead role in that West End production. Whatever it happens to be, you are blessed to take a risk this week. Now, it doesn't mean that everyone who applies for that lead role with the theatre group in the West End is going to get the lead role. Somebody's got to miss out. There's only one lead role. But what it can do is bring you to a greater, awareness by people. Oh, she was brilliant in her audition, even though she didn't get the part. Maybe she wants this position on this film with the BBC that we're producing. Let's contact her. So success can result from your willingness to take a risk with career this week. Don't be afraid. Put yourself out there. Pluto, Mars, Trine has your back. Okay, so moving along to Virgo rising, Sun and Moon. We're just whizzing through quickly this week. The majority of the valuable information you'll find in the intro, because it applies to you personally. It's not just a sort of airy-fairy, information that means nothing. You are going to get something out of watching the intro if you haven't done so already. So for Virgo rising people, we see Mars falling in the 9th house. Before I get to what that means for you this week, I want you to know Kesenya, my beautiful Russian-Irish tarot card reader at Guiding Star Astrology, she is offering a special love reading for the month of February. From Valentine's Day to the end of February, a special reading on love and romance. Now, if you want to know about your love life or your lack of one, she is the woman to speak to. She is brilliant with her tarot reads, so wise, so mature, and just so inspired by the divine. Check her out. Okay, so you have Mars, Virgo people, in the sign of Taurus, your 9th house. It's a great place. This is all about risk-taking this week. It's about where you can take a risk, knowing that the universe has your back and is going to support you with whatever risk you're undertaking. So for you, it might be a risk in terms of education. You might be looking at learning something new and yet feel daunted by it. I remember I was about 24 when I went, no, I was probably a bit older actually. It might have been 25 or 6. When I went to university for the first time, because I left school and I went to college, and then I got a job and did a lot of things. And when I was in my mid-20s, I decided I wanted to get my planning degree. And it was so scary. I think my first subject, I sat there in the corner, not talking to anyone, shy little mouse, petrified. What if I'm not good enough? What if my writing for my assignments and what have you sucks, and they're like, well, what the hell's she doing here? And we can really fear putting ourselves out there into some, mechanism for higher learning. Well, I want to say taking a risk. If you are a Virgo rising person, taking a risk now in terms of going for that degree or that certificate or getting that doing that course online, now it's supported for you to take a risk. You're going to benefit from it. Your soul will grow from it. And you can actually have a lot more success because you take that risk with higher learning. Now, it may not be nothing to do with higher learning. Maybe you're completely over, university study or doing some sort of maybe even online learning. Maybe one of my courses, astrology is considered to be a higher level kind of complicated science. So it falls under that banner. Maybe you might be considering taking one of my courses. I would highly encourage that. But also, not only that, it could also represent your ability to believe something, because this is the house of our beliefs and our morals and our ethics. So maybe you've been being challenged, especially with Mercury retrograding, challenged about your beliefs, challenged about what you think, challenged to sort of review that. And now it's going to be a risk for you to stand up and be counted as somebody who believes in something that you always were against in the previous, times in your life. But maybe that's a risk, to change your beliefs, to change what you stand for, to change your moral stance on something can be very, very risky. What are the repercussions that I'm going to get from my friends or my family if I align myself with that moral compass? But I would encourage you to do so under this energy, because Mars and Pluto, they have your back. Pluto trine to Mars in your 9th house. It has your back. The changes in beliefs that you need to take a risk to enact are going to be for your ultimate good and your ultimate success in the long term. Now, not only that, but the 9th house has to do with travel, other cultures. It's basically anything that expands our heart, our soul, our mind. And so whatever you need to do, whatever risk you need to take to expand your heart, your soul, your mind, do it this week under Mars trine Pluto energy on the 25th. It's great energy for this. So that might mean, traveling to another country, immersing yourself in a different culture, taking a risk and going abroad, or launching your platform, your sales, your whatever it happens to be, to foreign countries, because this is a house of other countries, other cultures, other beliefs. So one example might be, you're a YouTuber, let's say, and you decide, I'm gonna get my videos translated into another language. And so you take a risk, because that's, is that going to pay off? Is that going to be worth your while? Is there benefit available for you in doing that? So you take a risk, you take a stab at trying something new, and it brings benefits. This is other cultures, other belief systems, and reaching out and expanding who you are in the world. So that's what we're seeing for you guys right now. It pays off. Success will come from doing these sorts of things, involving yourself with other cultures, doing some sort of higher learning, and what was the other thing that I said? Changing your belief systems. So don't be afraid. The universe totally has your back with any risky things you need to undertake in this realm this week. Libra rising, sun or moon people. Well, this energy of Mars falling in your 8th house here is where the energy of risk-taking is going to pay off for you this week. Now, before I get to that, I just want to mention my beautiful tarot card reader, my Russian-Irish tarot card reader, Kesenya. She's offering a special discount. She's offering a special love reading, a love tarot reading at the moment, just for the month of February, from Valentine's Day to the end of February. So if you want to know about your love life or your lack of one, check her out. She's brilliant, and you can get onto her through www.guidingstarrastrology.com. Okay, so Mars in the 8th house means this is where you can take a risk. Maybe you have always wanted to, to try ayahuasca or something, or go and see a shaman, or do something that's a bit left of center, like some alternative healing, like acupuncture or Reiki healing or something. And you've always been a bit scared because, I'm intrigued by this, but what if it goes wrong? And what if it's not the right thing to do? And what if I allow sort of unwanted energies into my vibe, and these sorts of things. And we can be a bit scared sometimes of things in the 8th house and the 12th house of that nature. But I want to say this is a great week for taking a risk with those things, because Mars, Pluto, Trine has your back. Whatever risks you take around these hidden realms, these occult practices, occult just means something that's not mainstream, so anything alternative basically, around involving yourself with alternative things, alternative practices, it's going to pay off. It's going to bring blessing into your life and success and greater sort of growth into your life and transformation into your life under this energy of this week. Pluto making a trine to Mars. So that's one realm of the 8th house that can be blessed by taking a risk, is those hidden things, those occult things. Not only that, but it's things to do with other people's money. You know, maybe you take a risk and you say, okay, I'm going to invest my money in some stock market venture of some sort, or I'm going to invest my money in gold or silver or what, you know, Bitcoin or whatever it happens to be, and you decide, I'm going to take a risk by connecting with someone who's going to manage my money, a stockbroker perhaps, or somebody who you know, manages funds of some sort, and you connect with a person like that, because that's what the 8th house represents. It's people who manage you know, other people's money for a living. So you might connect with somebody like that. Now maybe that's a risky thing that you don't ordinarily do, but it's worth it under this energy. Pluto trine to Mars can make risky ventures pay off now. Maybe you take a risk by approaching grandma or grandpa about their will. You know, grandma or grandpa, when you pass, you know, I really love that fur coat that you've got hanging in the cupboard. Could you include me in your will to get that fur coat, you know? And maybe that's a risky thing to do, to approach somebody about their will. This is the week to do it. You're supported in that. The universe has your back to help you. Mightn't get what you want, but you are going to be certainly blessed through taking that risky action. So for example, you approach grandma about her fur coat in her cupboard, and you're like, can I have that left to me in your will? Oh no, darling, I promised that to, you know, Auntie Susan or someone. But you know what? I've got this absolutely glorious antique diamond necklace that it's been hidden away in my cupboard for years because I just don't wear it. I don't go out to parties and things to wear this necklace. But if you would like that, I'll leave that to you in your will. And you're like, yes, please. You know, so taking the risk doesn't mean you will necessarily get what you want, but it's not going to be for the ill. You know, it's not going to be of detriment. It is worth taking a risk now. So what have we talked about? Other people's money, sort of occult hidden practices and alternative healing methods as well, like acupuncture and so on. Worth taking the risk. They're going to benefit you. They're going to pay off. Also, communal property is seen through the 8th house. So maybe, you know, you want to host a spiritual workshop afternoon or something, but you need a space. You know, your lounge room's too small and you don't want people tramping mud through your house, so you decide, okay, I'm going to hire a community hall or a church hall or something, some community property. And it's risky to do this. You know, what if no one shows up for the spiritual workshop? How am I going to pay for this community property? Let me tell you, taking a risk with community property now is worthwhile, because Mars trine Pluto says it's worth being courageous about taking those risky moves. So that's what we're seeing for Libra rising, sun or moon. Take a risk with alternative things this week. You're supported. Now for Scorpio rising, sun or moon, we are seeing Mars falling in your 7th house. This is where you can take a risk. Before I talk about what that's going to mean for you, I just want to mention my beautiful tarot card reader, Kesenya. She is the beautiful Russian-Irish tarot card reader you see on my channel sometimes. She is offering a special love reading, and this could be very pertinent for you because this activation is occurring in the 7th house of relationships for you this week. We'll talk about it in a minute. But Kesenya is offering a love reading. She offered it on Valentine's Day. It's lasting right to the end of February. If you're confused about your love life, or if you want to know why you don't have one, or you know how to improve the one you've got, get a love reading with Kesenya. She's absolutely brilliant. Now for you guys, Mars, this spirit of passion is falling in your 7th house, but this is where you can take a risk this week. You know, it's quite lovely in the 7th house, I've got to say, because let's say that you've been dating someone for quite some time and you're like, you know, I want to ask them to marry me, and oh God, what if they say no? Like, what if I'm totally on the wrong page here and they're not interested in that sort of a long-term connection with me? You know, but you take the risk and you ask them to marry you just the same. I'm not saying that the response is going to be yes, but the response could be better than what you thought. And the response could, even if they say no, will be for your greater good, for your soul's growth, and for your success ultimately in life. So I want to encourage you, don't be afraid to take a risk. For many people, the risk is absolutely going to pay off. You're going to get what you want. Someone will say yes. Now, this is also applicable to business partnerships and any contracts. This is the house of contracts. So if you need to arrange a contract with somebody, maybe an advertiser or a business partner or a colleague or something, and you need things written down and legally arranged, take a risk, do that, because it's going to be for the greater good in the long term now under this energy. This is on the 25th of this week, of February. Also, take a risk, perhaps, and invite a business colleague to come work with you. Like, for example, me, I'm an astrologer, but I also, on my page, have on my website a lot of wellness practitioners. So maybe I, get up the courage and take a risk and say, look, you're a wonderful medium and I want you to come work with me on my channel. They may say no, they may say yes, but it's going to be for my greater good in the long term, whatever the outcome actually is, yes, no, or otherwise. And taking the risk is what is beneficial, because it's meaning that I am, the energy of within me getting out there in the world is being noted by the universe. Oh, she wants to expand, she wants to grow, or let's say she wants to get married or whatever. And the universe notes our energy within. It's the automatic principle, as within, so without. What we give out energetically from within us is then reciprocated and attracted to us comes to us from outside in our circumstantial experiences. So don't be afraid to take a risk. It's supported by the universe for your greater good this week. Ask that person to marry you. Sign a contract or set up a contract that you've been a bit sort of, should I, shouldn't I, about. I mean, do your due diligence. Don't just sign a contract. Oh, Kesenya said, sign a contract. Look at the fine print, look at the details. Use your common sense as well. But don't be afraid to take a risk just because it seems a bit scary now. Approach a business collaborator to go in with you on something under this energy. It's all supported now. And even if it doesn't come off the way you imagine that it would, the results are going to be for your greater good and your greater benefit under the energy of Pluto, magnetizing to Mars in this way through a trine. Okay, so Sagittarius rising, sun or moon people. Well, this energy of Mars is going to give us the momentum of risk-taking falling in the 6th house. Before we talk about that, I just want to mention that my beautiful tarot card reader, Kesenya, my Russian-Irish tarot card reader at Guiding Star Astrology, she is currently offering a special love reading, and this was launched on Valentine's Day. It's running till the end of February. If you would like a reading to tell you about your love life or your lack of one, then go and see Kesenya. She is wise beyond measure. So you can do that through guidingstar-astrology.com. Now, back to this risk-taking energy of Mars in the 6th house. Well, Mars and Pluto on the 25th are connecting in a way that's benevolent. So what risk-taking ventures you undertake are going to pay off for you in the long term here. And so for you in the 6th house, it might mean taking a risk. Maybe, you're in a court case and you take a risk in some way with that court case or that circumstance of confrontation or conflict, which is a 6th house thing. And in doing so, it works out. Or in doing so, some new evidence comes to light or something is revealed because you took a risk to talk about some issue that, you didn't think was important or something, but you took a risk and a stab, getting it out there, and it pays off and it changes everything and it transforms the whole situation. Or maybe you're in a workplace situation and, you need to take a risk by going and speaking to your subordinates, people, your employees, and saying, look, we need to change XYZ, or we need to do this, that, and the other. And it's risky going and confronting them about a circumstance of something or another. But you do it. And under this energy, it can pay off. It can bring you blessing. Maybe it's in health and well-being that you need to take a risk. Maybe, you need to say, okay, look, I think I need to take a stab or a leap, if you like, and I need to start exercising more in a different way because what I've been doing isn't working. So you take a risk and try something new. Maybe it's going to that Taekwondo class or Qigong class or something, and it feels risky to you because you've never done any of that kind of thing before. And there's risk has an element of being scared. It doesn't mean that it's dangerous. If something is risky, it doesn't mean it's dangerous. It just means to us it's unfamiliar, or it's scary in some way because we're not familiar with it or because it's new to us. So I want to encourage you, take a risk with some new form of exercise or a new diet or a new daily habit, because it's going to be supported by the universe now. The energy of Pluto to Mars can bring about success with whatever risks you undertake at this time. So that in the 6th house includes daily routine, diet, exercise, health and well-being, any of those elements, and also any conflict situations or work situations that you find yourself in. Don't be afraid to take a risk. I would also add that this is a house of healing, and any alternative healing while Uranus is here as well is going to be supported. So don't be afraid to take a risk with some sort of alternative healing practice, you know, getting some acupuncture or some transference healing, or doing some Reiki or something that's a bit non-mainstream. Going and seeing a chiropractor or a reflexologist or something could seem a bit risky, bit not your usual style. I would encourage you to consider it if you need to, if your health needs addressing in that way under this influence on the 25th. All right, Capricorn rising, sun or moon people. Well, the energy of Mars is falling for you in the 5th house, and this is a great place to have Mars doing some action for you this week. But before I talk about that, I want to mention that my Russian-Irish tarot card reader, Kesenya, same name as me, she is currently offering a special love reading from Valentine's Day right to the end of February. If you want to know about your love life or your lack of one, then check out her services at my page, www.guidingstarrastrology.com, and she would be more than happy to help you navigate those realms with her greatly divinely inspired wisdom that she shares. Okay, so Mars in the 5th house, this is where you can take a risk this week. This is where you can be bold, knowing that it's going to pay off. Now, whether it means you get what you want or not, that's another story, but it's going to benefit you in the long run, because Mars on the 25th will be making this beautiful trine to Pluto, and this is an energy for success. It's a change-making energy, but we've got to be bold enough and courageous enough to take action and to make a change. And in the house of love and dating and romance, you guys, if you've been eyeing anyone off, if you've been thinking about anybody, if you've been sort of, should I, shouldn't I ask them out or whatever, do it. This is your energy to support you. The universe has your back under this energy. Go for it. The planets are aligning, so don't be afraid to take a risk. And even if they say no, it will have stretched you, it will have grown you, and who knows, you may have dodged a bullet if they say no. Even, you know, maybe someone better is waiting for you around the corner. So don't be afraid under this energy. You know what, I'm just going to hold this here, and that will help. Keep that from moving. So yeah, this is a great energy for taking a risk with creativity as well, with maybe doing something that you'd hope will bring you fame, because this is the house of celebrity, popularity and fame and recognition. And so maybe, you know, you've written a novel, let's say, you've written a book, or you've got a song or an album that you want to put out there to the world, but it's a risk. You know, it's a risk to go and approach that producer or that publishing company, or it's a risk to self-publish your work. But you know what? You do it anyway. This energy can support you, because no matter what happens, it could be really positive. It could lead to your success. It might get, your record, your album might get accepted. Your book might get published. But even if it doesn't, it might expose you to other people who can take your success in a different direction. This is a change-making energy, as I said. So it can really bring about change that is needed for you in creativity, in creative realms, and the ability to gain popularity and success in creative realms. Very, very exciting. So that's one thing. Creativity, dating and romance is another, and also children. If you need to take a risk, maybe to do with your children. Now, I'm not talking about putting your children in a dangerous situation. I'm talking about facing your fears around your children and and being a risk taker. So maybe you've got like teenage children and they're like, I want to go out to this party, and like you have always said no. And maybe it's time to take a risk and say, well, look, you know what? You're 16 years old. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to face my fears as a parent. And I'm going to trust that you're going to be wise and sensible, and that I can count on you in this circumstance to make good choices. And that's a risk for a parent to take. So maybe it's time this week to take a risk regarding your children, giving them more space, giving them more opportunity, pulling the boundaries back. This energy is not about removing boundaries. It's not about that, but I'm using that as an illustration of taking a risk in something to do with your children, Or maybe your children need to take a risk this week. Maybe they want to start a new sport or something like that, but it's risky because they don't know anybody. I don't know anyone at the hockey club. So, I'm going to go in there and be all alone, and I'm scared, and it's a risk. If your children are in that situation, this is the house of your children, then, tell them about Pluto and Mars making a trine. You have the courage this week on the 25th. You have what it takes to go into that risky situation and get the best out of it, and you probably make new friends. You'll probably find a new sport or a hobby or something that you absolutely love. Like taking a risk is worth it this week, honey, you could say, because it is astrologically. So support your children that way. They're going to flourish. Okay, now I'll just move this along. For my beautiful Aquarius rising sun or moon people, the energy of Mars is falling for you guys in your 4th house. And this is where you guys are going to notice that you can take a risk and that can actually pay off for you. So before I talk about that, I just do want to mention my beautiful tarot card reader, my Irish-Russian tarot card reader, Kesenya, same name as me, is offering a special love tarot reading from Valentine's Day right through to the end of February, looking at your love life or your lack of one. And if you want to know why it is the way it is, or how it can improve, or when it might improve or change, then go and check out Kesenya's readings. She's got this special running just until the end of February. And you can do that through guidingstarrastrology.com. Okay, so back to what's happening in the skies. Here is Mars down in the 4th house, and that is a great energy for taking a risk with family. Now, that might sound a bit dodgy, but risk-taking under this energy, Mars making a trine to Pluto on the 25th, is supported. It means that great success can come out of your risk-taking this month or this day. Not only great success, but in the long term, you can see a lot of things magnetized to you through your actions, through your ability to be courageous and bold and act in your best interests. So what I mean by risk, I use the word risk, but it's really about facing your fears and being courageous to do something new, to make a change. So that might be with family. Maybe you need to talk to your family or your maternal line or your mother or your grandmother or somebody in the maternal line or the nurturing line. That could be your father's line for some people. Maybe there's a need to confront somebody or talk to someone in the family to resolve a problem, to resolve an issue. Be courageous, be bold. It probably feels a bit risky to do so. They could cut you off or they might tell you to get stuffed. But be bold, be risky anyway, because the benefits that come with this energy are going to outweigh the possible detriments. So it could mean that you need to take a risk with, say, something to do with your home or your domestic environment. Maybe, you're looking at your house and you think, gosh, I think I need to paint that wall purple. Well, that's a risky venture. What if it looks like crap? But you decide, I need to take this risk. I'm going to redecorate the lounge room and paint the wall purple. And you do it and you love it and it's great, Or you learn lessons about picking ridiculous paint colors. But no, I'm just joking. But this is a great energy for taking a risk in your domestic environment. And when I say risk, I'm talking about facing your fears. Fears about change, fears about shaking things up, Don't be afraid, because blessing can come through taking courageous action now. And this, of course, applies to anything of the fourth house, such as our ancestors, our family, our home environment, our domestic life. Maybe it's risky for you to sort of go and buy an investment property. Mars is real estate, and here in the fourth house, with a trine to Pluto, it's saying, yeah, we can support you this week in signing a contract for that new Airbnb property that you want to buy or purchase, or some house you want to flip, or maybe establishing some new veggie garden. It doesn't have to be big like an investment property. It could just be, you know, you decide this is a house of gardening. You want to establish a veggie garden, or some sort of a flower garden or something. And, you know, you've got to approach your husband about sort of taking the side of the shed to grow a passion fruit vine. And maybe that's a risky thing, because he might say, no way, you're not having the side of my shed to grow a passion fruit vine up. And you take that risk anyway, and it pays off, and you both go and do the garden together and have a lovely afternoon. You know, I'm just using crazy, silly examples, but taking a risk with fourth house things is actually supported now under this energy. So don't be afraid to try something new, to be bold and to be courageous where property, land, family, and home are concerned. So if you happen to be Pisces rising, sun or moon people, remember to check all three, because they're all applicable to some degree or another, but particularly your rising sign. And can I just say, I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning, but if you don't know what your rising sign actually is, then why not go and take my short course in understanding your chart and reading your chart and casting your chart using free astrological software. It's available through my Learn Astrology page at Guiding Star Astrology, and you can learn all about how to cast and read your own chart and therefore follow along a lot easier with what I have to share with you here. But for Pisces rising, sun and moon people, well, we're seeing Mars fall for you in your third house this week, and this is where you can actually take a bit of a risk. And by using the word risk, what I mean by that is not so much doing something dangerous, but doing something that is a bit out of the ordinary, out of your comfort zone, being courageous in trying something new. That's what we're really talking about when I'm talking about risk. And here in Taurus, your third house, well, it's taking a risk with regard to things like doing an advertising campaign or a marketing campaign. You know, maybe you've thought about doing a Facebook promotion many times and it never sort of, I don't know if it's worth it. Maybe you need to take a risk with that this week, or maybe you need to take a risk and speak to sort of a copywriter or an advertising manager or something like that about how to, you know, work better with what you've got and promote things better with what you've got. So don't be afraid to take a risk or to step out of your comfort zone with regard to advertising, marketing, promotions, also writing, speaking. Maybe this is a good week on the 25th of February. It's a good week when we have Pluto making this beautiful trine to Mars. It's a good week to sort of write something new, maybe write a new newsletter or establish some sort of new communication, buy a new communication device of some sort, maybe a new camera or a new smartphone or a new computer program or an app or something that you need to help you do your work or your business. Take a risk, try something new. It's supported under this energy. This is an energy, Pluto trine Mars, that's going to bring success to your ventures under this energy. It's a shape-shifting or a change-making energy. So wherever you need changing in terms of your small business or your marketing, advertising kind of stuff, or even the skills and talents and how you're using them. Maybe you've got a talent for dressmaking or something, but how are you using that? Maybe something needs to change, something needs to shift. Don't be afraid to take a risk and open an Etsy shop or something like that. It can be very blessed under this energy if you work with Mars trine Pluto. So where do you need to take a risk regarding your skills, your talents, or some sort of advertising or marketing, or a small business that you're running? Where do you need to take a risk regarding sort of something that you write, something that you speak, something that you communicate? This is where you can move ahead now, knowing that the universe has your back. Don't be afraid to, launch that website, sell that product, write that article for that journal or whatever. It's well supported now, even though for a time it might feel like you're a bit out of your comfort zone. Okay, so for Aries, I'm going to wind up with Aries. Aries rising, sun or moon people. This energy of Mars is falling in your second house, and so this is where you can take a bit of a risk this week. Now, before I talk about that, I want to mention that my beautiful Russian Irish tarot card reader Kesenya, same name as me, she is offering a special love tarot reading, and this is running from Valentine's Day right through to the end of February. So if you want to find out about your love life or your lack of one, or your love relationship, then go and grab a reading with Kesenya while this special is being offered. It's available on my website, guidingstar.astrology.com. Now, back to what's happening with Mars trine to Pluto on the 25th. Well, this is a great energy for stepping out of your comfort zone with things to do with money, materiality, possessions, and self-worth and self-value. So maybe there's something, Aries rising, sun or moon people, that you need to sort of be courageous about. And you're very good at being courageous. It comes naturally to you to be, you know, bold and take a risk. Maybe you need to do something that brings a sense of more value to your life, or to your who you think you are, or how you're living your life. For example, let's use an example. Maybe this is a house of collections. Second house is a house of collections, and maybe you collect first edition novels, and some exquisite first edition novel comes up for sale at an auction house, and you need to be bold and take a risk and put your hand up to get that first edition novel, because it's going to just really add to your collection. Or maybe you need to take a risk regarding, maybe you want to open a cafe. This is the house of food. And it's also to do with money and how we generate money. So you might like to think about, you know, maybe I take a risk and open a cafe or a coffee van or something like that. And it's risky. It requires courage to do that. Well, maybe this energy is the perfect time to take that step, to take that bold move, knowing that the universe is supporting you, because Pluto trine to Mars can bring success for those ventures now. So don't be afraid to step out of the comfort zone. Not only that, but we can also find that in this house of materiality, by taking a risk with your material goods, you can actually, things can pay off. Maybe, you know, you decide you're going to sell some old couch, and you put it up on eBay or on Facebook, buy, swap and sell or something like that, and it actually pays off better than what you thought. You know, you get more for it than you thought you would. This is, in the second house is the house of the voice and also the face. So I would also encourage you, Aries people, to be courageous about using your face or your voice this week on the 25th. Maybe you're looking at launching a podcast series. That's using your voice like a radio DJ would. And you decide, okay, I'm going to launch this podcast using my voice on this day, March 25th, because I know I've got Mars making a trine to Pluto in the house of the voice, taking this risk, taking this venture, starting this venture of this podcast using my voice. It's going to pay off. Or maybe it's something to do with your face. So, I mean, one thing, like I think it was Elvis, actually lots of people, Elvis, Taylor Swift, John Lennon. I mean, there were so many people who had significant planets in their second house who became singers, as well as known for how they looked. Their face. I mean, Elvis, prime example, known for his face. So in that sense, you know, what are you doing in your life that you are using your face for? We use our face every day for so many things. Like, especially like for me on YouTube, I'm using my face every day. I use my face to advertise my YouTube videos because it's in my astrology chart to do so, not because I'm vain. You know, using our face is very, very important, and you taking a risk, being courageous about using your face for something is so supported today. Maybe you need to advertise something using your face. Maybe you need to you know, put your face out there in some way on, like Phil Dunphy on an advertising campaign, or a bench in the park or something like that. Maybe there's some way that you should be using your face. Don't be afraid to do so. Don't you know, lack the courage to do so today under this energy, because it's supported. Taking a risk, being courageous with using your face or your voice or your material goods can really pay off under this energy and bring you a lot of benefit. So that's what I'm seeing in the skies this week. I hope this week's Astro Weather Report has been beneficial for you. I hope you caught the intro as well. It's just so important to get the full picture, not just the snapshot that I give when I break down each sign. But let's close with a prayer. Energy of love in the universe, thank you that we have managed to push through the more difficult months of 2021 and that we're coming to a period now where we have more momentum and more drive to go forward, all planets moving in a forward motion. We ask that your energy inspires us to make the most of this time and to really lift our lives to the highest vibrational level that we can, as well as helping others along their journey also. And so it is. Well, thank you for joining me. I'll have another Astro Weather Report for you next week, and I'll catch you then.